The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, the Wicked Witches, Toto, the Yellow Brick Road. We all know the story, right? Well, think again. What Hollywood showed you is only part of the picture. The world of Oz is far darker than you've ever imagined. Behind the magic of Oz lies a chilling reality. Imagine a man cursed to cut off his own limbs, piece by piece. A wizard who ruled through manipulation and control, using fear and deception to hold the masses in his grip. And Dorothy? She wasn't just a fictional character. She was real. And she wasn't the only one. The story of Oz isn't just a fairy tale. It's deeply rooted in history, dark history that will change everything you thought you knew about the land beyond the rainbow. Some connections are not just fantastical, they're eerily relatable to the world we live in today. Get ready to uncover the dark secrets of Oz. This journey will alter how you view the world of Oz forever. Before The Wizard of Oz, L. Frank Baum explored a variety of ventures. He opened a general store, but unfortunately, it wasn't sustainable. He launched a newspaper, but struggled to stay afloat. He even tried to be a traveling salesman, though it wasn't the perfect fit for his talents. By 1899, after numerous ventures that didn't pan out as hoped, Baum was searching for the breakthrough that would finally match his skill set. So, instead of chasing another doomed venture, he reached deep into his imagination, creating what would go on to become one of the most successful stories in history. Back in the 1890s, scarecrows weren't just farm props. They were symbols used in political cartoons to represent farmers, specifically farmers who were seen as helpless, clueless, and easily manipulated. During this era, farmers were drowning in debt thanks to the fallout of the financial crisis. Crops were failing, debts were rising, and the government was not on their side. The banking elite, wealthy financiers had the power, and farmers were seen as pawns in a much bigger game. Farmers were depicted as brainless puppets with no control over their own fate. In The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow is convinced he's the dumb one of the group. He spends the whole story thinking he's not smart enough, not good enough, not worthy enough. That's because this isn't just about a fictional scarecrow. This is about something much bigger. This is about ordinary people being manipulated by those in power, political leaders, wealthy elites, and anyone who profits from making you feel small, powerless, and not smart enough to make a difference. It's not just that the Scarecrow thinks he's dumb. It's that he was told he was dumb by people who had something to gain from his self-doubt. Because if you think you have no brain, you're much easier to control. In the 1890s, America was in the middle of an industrial boom, but for factory workers, it was less boom and more grind. Long shifts, brutal conditions, and non-stop repetitive labor. Workers weren't seen as people. They were seen as cogs in a machine, replaceable, interchangeable, and heartless tools of production. Some say that's exactly who the Tin Man represents, the working class, dehumanized by industry and stripped of their humanity. Trapped in a system where you're just another body, another bolt, another cog. Cold, metal, heartless. But it goes deeper than that. There's a second theory, and it has everything to do with the gold versus silver currency debate of the 1890s. At the time, there was a heated argument over whether America's money should be backed by gold or silver. Silver was supposed to support the working class, while gold favored the wealthy banking elite, a struggle that echoes in the story of a man who lost himself piece by piece. The Tin Man wasn't always made of metal. Once upon a time, he was just a man, a simple woodcutter named Nick Chopper. He lived in Oz and was in love with a Munchkin girl. But their love caught the attention of someone who wasn't happy about it, her boss. And her boss just so happened to be the Wicked Witch of the East. The witch didn't want her finding love, happiness, or freedom. So she cast a curse. Every time he swung his axe, it betrayed him. First, his arm was chopped, then a leg, then another arm, another leg, until every single limb was gone. And with each loss, something strange happened. He didn't even feel it. A local tinsmith rebuilt him. His entire body was slowly replaced with tin. But something was missing. He lost his heart. She wanted him to become hollow, empty, and heartless. The Tin Man's journey isn't just about finding a heart. It's about getting back something he never realized he'd lost. He doesn't even remember it happened. Think about that. To go from being a human being to a hollow machine, slowly, piece by piece, without even realizing it's happening. Lions are supposed to be kings, the top of the food chain. But in The Wizard of Oz, we meet a lion who's not bold, not brave, and definitely not kingly. Instead, he's begging for courage. The Cowardly Lion might be more than just a nervous feline. He's believed to be a symbol for a real person, William Jennings Bryan, a U.S. presidential candidate who was loud on the campaign trail but didn't always deliver. Bryan was a populist leader. He fought for the working class and railed against the banking elite. He was known for his big speeches, his passion, and his legendary roar against corruption. But his critics said that's all he was, a roar. They called him all bark, no bite, which is the Cowardly Lion's character. The lion's story is more than just a reference to a politician. It's an allegory for something bigger. Lions are supposed to be the strongest, most fearsome creatures in the wild. They're called the kings of beasts. But here's a lion that's afraid of everything. What does that say about power? It's symbolic of how people in power, politicians, CEOs, and the elites often appear strong on the outside, but are absolutely terrified on the inside. They rule with fear, but they are often the ones who are most afraid. It's a reminder that the ones who appear powerful might just be the most scared of all. When you think of a witch, this is probably who comes to mind. Green skin, pointy hat, broomstick, and that laugh. But none of that was in the original story. And her wickedness. Well, that might just depend on who's telling the story. In Baum's original book, she's not green at all. She's a sorceress with a powerful eye. She commands flying creatures using a magical golden cap and rules over the Winkies, who serve her out of fear. One theory suggests that the West in Wicked Witch of the West wasn't just a random location. It may have been a nod to the American Wild West itself, a lawless, dangerous, and unpredictable place where survival meant controlling what you could. In this world, you don't survive by being nice. You survive by being feared. When Dorothy arrives, it's not a misunderstanding. It's a threat. Dorothy's house crushes her sister, and then she takes the witch's most valuable possession, her magical shoes. From this perspective, Dorothy isn't just a visitor, she's an invader. the Wicked Witch of the West isn't simply wicked. She's ruthless. When you strip away the modern retellings, she's not a misunderstood figure burdened by the world. She's a tyrant. She hoards power, demanding absolute control over everything. Since she had already exhausted her control over the monkeys with a golden cap, she sought a new way to gain more power, and that's where Dorothy's silver shoes come into play. She's desperate for a new source of power. She's wicked because she chooses to be. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the wonderful Wizard of Oz, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps out the channel. The wizard isn't just a fairy tale trope. It's a reflection of real life. The wizard is often seen as a symbol of corrupt political leaders, the kind who rely on spectacle to appear powerful. But pull back the curtain, and you'll find there's not much substance behind the show. Political figures have always used spectacle to appear more powerful than they are. You're not looking at them. You're looking at the image they've created for themselves. But it goes even deeper than that. See, L. Frank Baum, the man who wrote The Wizard of Oz, knew a thing or two about building illusions. Before he became an author, he was a department store window designer. His job was to build displays to trick people into buying things. Shiny, glamorous, expensive looking, but it was all for show. Baum knew that people are drawn to spectacle. Shiny displays make people think something is more valuable than it is. That sounds a lot like the Wizard in Oz. A man with no power who uses illusions to make you believe he's in charge. The wizard isn't just some random trickster. He's a symbol of how most power in life is just an illusion. He controls an entire kingdom with nothing but fog machines, bright lights, and a microphone. It's not real power, but it works. Public figures still stand on stages, promising change. Brands use slick ads to make products look better than they are. It's the same old trick, just a different generation. Power isn't about control. It's about perception. And the Wizard of Oz just showed us how long this has been happening. When Dorothy exposes him, he doesn't lose his power. He loses the illusion of his power. It's not his magic that's shattered, it's his image. When people in power are exposed, we see the exact same thing happen. Scandals, leaked footage, whistleblowers. It all comes down to this moment, pulling back the curtain. And suddenly, we realize they're not as powerful as they seemed. They never were. The wizard isn't a man of power. He's a man of manipulation. He's a symbol of how the few elite trick the masses into believing they're in control. But behind the curtain, it's just a man pulling levers, hoping nobody notices. When Dorothy and her crew arrive at the Emerald City, they're handed green-tinted glasses. The gatekeeper says it's to protect their eyes from the city's brilliance. The Emerald City isn't actually green. It's just a normal city. But because everyone is wearing green-tinted glasses, it looks green to them. People think the Emerald City is rich and wealthy because emeralds are green and expensive, but it's not made of emeralds at all. The only reason people think it's wealthy is because they've been tricked into believing it is. The wizard tells people to wear the green glasses, and nobody questions it. They just put them on. So where did Baum get the idea for the Emerald City? There's two big theories for this. First is the Chicago's 1893 World's Fair. Baum lived in Chicago at the time, and the city had this incredible display called the White City. It was a collection of massive, dazzling white buildings that looked like marble and stone. The other theory is Washington, D.C. Some people believe the Emerald City represents America's capital city, a place of political power where the people in charge control the way the masses see the world. The color green is also a symbol for money, wealth, and greed. Just like the concept of follow the money, the Emerald City is a place where greed and power are always connected. And that's the bigger message of The Wizard of Oz. It's all an illusion. The glasses only work if you never take them off. We all remember the scene where Dorothy, Toto, and the group walk through a field of bright red poppies. But it's a trap. Poppies are associated with sleep, dream states, and altered consciousness due to their connection to opium-based medicines. Back when Baum wrote The Wizard of Oz in 1900, the world was in the middle of a public health crisis linked to it. Opium-based medicines were being used everywhere, even in children's cough syrups. So, when Baum wrote about a field of beautiful flowers that makes people pass out and lose track of their objective, it wasn't just a random idea. It was also a symbol of distraction and stagnation. Comfort is nice, but it won't get you where you need to go. If you're chasing your dreams, don't fall asleep in the poppy field. It's warm, it's cozy, and it feels safe. But if you stay too long, you may never want to leave. The Yellow Brick Road might just be the most famous road in American history. But have you ever wondered why it's yellow? Some say it's a nod to the gold standard debate of the 1890s, where gold was seen as the only way to back US currency, while others wanted to introduce silver as a form of currency. And walking this path is Dorothy, a girl with silver shoes on a road made of gold. From the moment Dorothy steps onto that path, she's following the road someone else told her to follow, not a path that she chose. But where does it lead? Not to riches, not to wealth. It leads to a man behind a curtain. The Yellow Brick Road isn't really there to help Dorothy. It's there to control where she goes. She never questions where it's leading. She just blindly follows because someone told her to. This is exactly how people have been taught to live their lives for centuries. Follow the path, stay in line, go to school, get a job, work hard. But what happens when you get to the end of that path and there's nothing there? No wealth, no power, just a guy behind a curtain pretending to be in charge. If everyone's walking the same road, nobody's choosing their own path. And that's the whole point. It's about controlling the masses, keeping them in line and on one clear path so that they never even think to step off of it. In the original book, Munchkins are just people who are slightly shorter. No wild candy cane outfits, no lollipop guild, none of that. In the book, they're normal townsfolk wearing simple, everyday clothes. They're farmers and they're workers. The Munchkins aren't singing and dancing immediately. After all, they've spent years living under the threat of the Wicked Witch of the East, where one wrong move could lead to punishment. Fear like that doesn't go away overnight. But as it slowly dawns on them that the witch is truly gone and their caution gives way to joy, they sing, they dance, they celebrate their newfound freedom like citizens overthrowing a tyrant. It feels like a revolution, like citizens breaking free from a monarchy or a corrupt system of control. But even after the witch is gone, the Munchkins don't suddenly become independent. They don't set off on their own. They stay right where they are. They don't follow Dorothy down the yellow brick road. They just watch her go. They think they're free, but are trapped in the same little world they've always known because their beliefs are instilled in them. This isn't freedom, it's stagnation, the illusion of freedom. Glinda, the good witch of the South, not the North like the movie, plays a very different role in the original story. Unlike in the 1939 film, Glinda doesn't watch over Dorothy from the start. In fact, Dorothy doesn't meet Glinda until the end of her journey, after she's defeated the Wicked Witch of the West. Glinda resides in the South and serves as a wise mentor, revealing crucial knowledge only when Dorothy asks for help. She explains that Dorothy's silver shoes, which she's worn since she arrived in Oz, had the power to take her home all along. Glinda is seen as a powerful symbol of leadership and patience, someone who understands that sometimes the journey itself is the most important part of the story. Dorothy Louise Gage, L. Frank Baum's niece, was born in 1898. Tragically, she passed away just 5 months later from a severe illness. Her death shattered Frank's family. So, when it came time to create a central character for his most ambitious story, he named her after the little girl they lost, Dorothy. It's a touching tribute that gives Dorothy's journey a whole new layer of meaning. She's not just a character on a quest. She's a symbol of lost innocence and the hope that, no matter how lost you feel, you can always find your way home. Some people think Dorothy was more than just a tribute to a lost niece. After all, L. Frank Baum was known for blending personal experiences with his creative work. So while Dorothy Gage gave the name its emotional weight, many believe that Dorothy's actual character was inspired by another woman in Baum's life, his mother-in-law. Baum's mother-in-law wasn't just any woman. She was Matilda Jocelyn Gage, a feminist icon who fought for women's rights and didn't hold back. Her influence shaped Dorothy's character, turning her from a damsel in distress into a take-charge leader. Unlike the character she traveled with, Dorothy never questioned her own courage, heart, or brains, and that was no coincidence. Dorothy isn't handed success. She has to claim it. She faces fear, doubt, and danger, but she never loses sight of her goal, getting home. This is classic hero's journey storytelling. The thing she's searching for was inside her all along. She didn't need a wizard, a witch, or even magic shoes. She had everything she needed the whole time. When Dorothy clicks her heels and says, "There's no place like home," she's doing more than just going back to Kansas. She's acknowledging that home isn't just a place. It's a mindset. It's a realization that we often have the power to change our lives without waiting for someone else to grant it to us. Dorothy had to realize her own power. We all want someone to give us the answer, but sometimes we have to walk the difficult path ourselves. That's what Dorothy does. She's not looking for power or fame, she just wants to go home. But when she gets home, she's not the same person she was before. That's why Dorothy matters. She's not a damsel. She's not a sidekick. She's the leader of her own story. And maybe she's a little bit of all of us, too. Thank you for joining me for this tale that has truly stood the test of time. Until next time, stay mystical. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of Oz, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps more than you know. And if you want to join the Mystic Seekers, hit that subscribe button and be part of our next adventure. Which character from The Wizard of Oz do you relate to the most, and why? And if you had to choose courage, a heart, or a brain, which one would you pick and why? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Thanks for watching.